Well, how's it going, everyone? So there's a lot of things going around about crossplay as of recent, especially with Sony's involvement. So, if you've been paying attention to Nintendo and Microsoft news, they've been doing promotions together for Minecraft, and they have the slogan "Play Together." So they got cross-playing with PC, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch for Minecraft. And it's all good. Minecraft is incredibly popular. It's probably for the best that they introduce crossplay to get as many people playing together as possible. That's what you want in a multiplayer game. Now, and then you got Sony, who for some reason do not like to do partnerships with Nintendo or Microsoft, or with anyone really. They like to stay in their own sort of wavelength or whatever. And it's not really cool, considering we're in the age of multiplayer games and online only games. It should be the standard where crossplay is involved in just about any cross platform game, like multi-platform game. It should be the standard, and I guess Sony don't want to sort of move on with the future, because this is sort of the future moving forward, as Nintendo and Microsoft are sort of, they've realized that, well, it's time to just get this going, because it's about time, yeah? There's not many games that have this, really. So this is a good step forward in the industry. And, there's always someone to drag things backwards, And this comes into Sony. So this is sort of a Sony rant, and, it mostly is a Sony rant. So Sony always, they have a PR sort of response to everything, I got that quote here somewhere. It's really stupid. Like, it's supposed to be reflective or whatever. Here it is. We're always open to hearing the PlayStation community's interest in enhancing the gaming experience. Now, that is the most standard PR response you could ever put out. It literally sounds like a robot has typed it out. Really. So that phrase there, or whatever that promise, means absolutely nothing, because Sony have done this multiple times where they promise things and they just don't deliver. Especially when it comes to things like this, in terms of crossplay and features and stuff. Now, there's another thing that has happened recently. This includes Fallout 76. Now, Fallout 76, I'm incredibly excited to play this game. This game looks so good. And Bethesda have sort of come out and spoken out. They're not afraid to talk about like industry problems and that with their games and that. So I respect Bethesda as a gaming publisher. They make very good quality games, and they like to please their fans. Yeah. So they said Sony is making things difficult in terms of making crossplay stuff. So I don't know what's going on there. It's probably Sony just being really ignorant and cocky about their platform. They probably think that, well, the game is going to be sold mostly on our system, and we don't need Microsoft. We don't need the PC. And, it's a really bad attitude to have, even though you're on top of the gaming industry at the moment. It's not a good attitude to have, because guess what? What happens next generation? Microsoft release a new console. Sony release a new console. Nintendo Switch is currently in place and is most likely going to be the best-selling system of the next generation. I'm just assuming that Nintendo Switch is part of the next generation, because it really is. Nintendo would just off the bat a lot earlier than the rest. So they're coming into play soon. They're going to be announcing their consoles any year coming. It could be next year. It might even be next year, especially for Sony, because they were talking about the PS4 is on the last legs of its life cycle. Now, every generation, it always comes around where it's like, well, this company is on top, and then the other company is way below. That happened with the sixth generation. We're in the sixth, fifth, sixth. Shit, I don't know. 360 PS3. No, we're shit, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But yeah, the Xbox was on top. The Xbox was nailing it, and the PS3 was not. Like, they announced a bunch of stuff at the start, and you know, first impressions are the thing that really sell your console. Eventually, at the end of the generation, the PS3 caught up, and they were pretty evenly matched. You know, so at the end of the day, they both became successful, yeah? But the initial startup for Microsoft worked out better, and they probably made more money at the end of the day, because Sony's broke. I mean, it really is. Yeah, so, I mean, I tell you what, Sony have to rely on their gaming division to make money, because that's really their only successful division they have. And they should really only focus on it, because just the rest of their cameras and stuff is just, they're wasting their time at that point. I'm not going to talk about that shit, but you know. Sony as a gaming company are incredibly cocky, and they need to stop it, seriously. And you think, you know, you've got these people running it would use their brain a little bit and sort of, you know, stop measuring cocks with the other companies and that, and just sort of interweave the online aspect of their games with everybody else. I mean, I don't see what's the problem with that. There was one other thing. Sony felt like they weren't obliged to do anything about the whole Fortnite account blocking when it comes to logging into the Nintendo Switch version. So if you made a Fortnite Battle Royale, I hate this game, by the way, just want to point that out. I played it for like 5 minutes, I had to turn it off, it was terrible. But it's incredibly popular, so it's very relevant in the gaming industry at the moment, so it's worth talking about. So if you made an account with Fortnite for the PlayStation, you get locked out of the Nintendo Switch version, and they don't feel like they have anything to do with fixing any of that. So it's like they have this sort of attitude where, well, if they can't log in, they'll just come back to us. That's pretty much what their attitude is at the moment, and I don't really think they care, to be honest. And there's not many things they do care about recently. It feels like they've been very avoiding of the gaming community as of recent. They haven't been too vocal. The only thing you ever hear positive about Sony is announcements and stuff at E3. And if you've watched Sony stuff at E3 in 2018, you'll know that it was quite disappointing. They made almost no new announcements. I know one game, I can't remember, you're playing as a woman with telekinesis or whatever. It didn't look interesting to me. But that's the new game, the only new exclusive game that they announced, and it's most likely going to come to PC or whatever too. And you know, all they did was show off new gameplay of their games that they have, which is fine, but what do we get in the future? Like, what's future proofed? And everything's delayed until next year, so they've not much coming out. I mean, you got Spider-Man, and someone explained something that's coming out this year. Everything is so late to come to the PlayStation 4 at this point. And I mean, it's the same thing with the Xbox One. Okay, so I've made many complaints about the Xbox One exclusive lineup. As you know, they made some really cool announcements. This isn't until like late 2019 or maybe delayed later, because a lot of things are getting delayed on the Xbox One. So I've kind of moved on from this whole cross-platform thing, but yeah, Sony need to sort of get their things together and sort of stop thinking about themselves too much and think about the gamers as a whole. See, that's a bad way. Yeah, that's an old way of thinking in this industry. You know, Nintendo and Sega, they really wanted to separate the gaming community, and well, you need to have a Nintendo or you need to have a Sega. I mean, it wasn't like you didn't really have the internet to complain too much then, or you didn't have a really big rivalry or anything going on in the internet. It was sort of in the local scene, you know, but it was still very prominent. They had ads taking shots at each other. And it's a really old way of thinking at this point. And, you know, we've gotten to the point in the industry where it's time to get with the times and just bring everyone together as a gaming community, because this whole rivalry thing it's old and it's outdated, and it's just something that is part of a big problem in the gaming industry, where you're separating too many gamers, and it turns the community very sour or whatever, because people start hating each other and stuff, it's stupid in general. Like, why would you hate someone for liking a different console? But there are people that do it. I personally don't. I like just about any console really, and I've got all the current generation consoles: Switch, PS4, Xbox One, PC, playing everything current generation. So I've got all the experiences at my fingertips. I can get anything that releases. So yeah, I mean, it's not available to everyone, but you know, that's what I love doing the most, playing video games, and I want to be able to experience and share my thoughts. That's why I made this channel, because I just want to really share my thoughts about the games that are releasing, and I just talk about the industry in general. But yeah, it's time to move on with the times and stop being salty or whatever about this. I don't know what there really is no right. If there is a rivalry between Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, Sony versus Microsoft and Nintendo at this point, then it's just really sad at this point, and a really weak battle that has dragged on for too long. So it's time to do something instead of making PR responses, and just put some effort or something. That's what I feel like. Sony as a whole, I don't feel like they put too much effort into the PlayStation gamers in general. I guess that's really all the thoughts I have on this. Yeah, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Also, share the video. That's incredibly important that you share the video. Follow me on Twitter. I stream on Twitch sometimes. See you in the next video. Bye.